Right, good evening. Goeienaand en dumelang, everybody. Welcome to the Alumni Career Empowerment Seminar. This is a very exciting event for specifically our contact honors and master students. So it's not open for everybody necessarily, but I really want you guys to enjoy this event and take it in. As I've already said previously, my name is Abigail Oliphant. So I just also want to welcome everybody that is joining in online. Thank you so much for taking the time, although you couldn't be here. We are so excited to have you join us. And then, without any further ado, I would like to give over immediately to my manager. She is Nicolise van der Walt, and she's the section head for alumni relations, just to tell you a little bit more about why we do the events that we do, and that so you can know one day when you're alumni what you should do. Okay, Nicolise, over to you. Thank you very much.
Okay, actually this is very difficult. I have a face for radio, so thank you guys thank you for being here. This is very awkward. Sorry to the viewers at home, a little technical glitch. That's better. Okay, let's start off with, you know now who I am. But let's get a bit of a vibe. I mean, you guys haven't been to class for a few days, and you haven't bathed for a while, some of you. So it's been really, really a good week. So let's just enjoy this song together before I'm going to give you a very long and serious speech. You are welcome to join. Let's hope. Waar is die song?
Is dit nie hy nie?
Nee. Let's go. Wait. Song? Yeah. You see why we have to be here to be educated on technology as well. You're never too old to learn. Daar's hy. Van die begin af. Ja, jy kan hom net los.
Is dit waar begin?
Yes. Dis die lied.
Ons nou net ongelukkig kan met die klank. Sorry guys, die sound is maar.
But make sure you go and download this song. Look at the words and see if you recognize anyone. yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is the official 20-year song. Please get a hold of it. Sorry for the sound, but literally when they said, we can touch the stars here, Jupiter and Mars here, it's literally what's happening. I mean, we have rover on Mars. We had rover on Mars for quite a while. And I don't know whether you know, but Prof. Japie van Zyl, the late Prof. Japie van Zyl, he was an alumnus of this university. And he was part of that whole team. So thanks to technology and thanks to research, we can run with the best in the world. So I want to quickly share something with you. Perhaps you didn't notice, I'm not a student. So I was born just over half a century ago. No internet, no cell phones, no computers, no television in South Africa. So yeah, now I sound like your mother and grandfather telling you stories of the old days. Let me tell you, it's not that long ago. Life goes like this. And yet today I can operate a laptop and a telephone and even get my own channels on DSTV. And I also learned how to do research, how to use technology for research, how to use technology in our jobs. I mean, what's happening here tonight, we are streaming out to people out there. Afterwards, this is going to be a link sent out to all postgrad students. And that's all thanks to technology. And I know your generation perhaps don't think like it, but everything kind of what we do are reliant on technology. But I could have taken this stance, as a lot of people of my generation really did. It's not for me. I don't want to learn something new. I don't want to do that program. A cell phone is a nuisance. My computer is a burden. Or you can have the attitude, if I want to be relevant in the workplace one day, I need to run with the times. And that's what we want to empower you with. As we have someone like Japie van Zyl, who use technology on a worldwide platform, and there are many, many, many others. I want each of you to be a flag bearer, but I also want you to embrace what the world has to offer. Because one day I want to brag about our alumni, and you become an alumni once you graduate. That means this is your alma mater. This will forever be your home. But please, I don't want to be associated with dumb alumni. I want to be, please, give me something to work with, guys. So, we have experts here, and we don't go outside. We have everything in here. We have it here. You have it at your fingertips, in the person of Prof. Leenta Grobler. When I move on for example, when I move on campus, I hear there's projects, Leenta Grobler. Leenta Grobler. Education, Herman van Vieren, Leenta Grobler. So, and that's good to hear. Someone has to run with it. But one person cannot do it alone. It must become a trend. It must become the norm. Not just a wow. Thank you also to Yolandi Stewart for taking the time to be here, to share it. So it's up to you as a student to decide, what am I going to take out of this? Or am I only here because they said there will be food afterwards? We don't judge, but get some food for your future as well, please, guys. Use these opportunities. Run with the times. Sometimes, even for me, it feels things are happening too fast. I can't keep up. But it's a decision, a conscious decision that you take, that I will learn. I will teach myself. I mean, you can go onto Google and teach yourself so many things. I will empower myself. So never ever stop learning. And that brings me to another thing. As an alumnus, when you walk out of these gates, please always remember to make us your lifelong partner in learning. Always come back. And believe me, I can show you my career in academics. It's not that impressive, but it's just easier to do it at the same place. where you have the same people and it's a follow-up and there's a kind of a rhythm to how you do it. And believe me, there are so many postgraduate courses available that are internationally accredited. You don't have to go there or there. And I can promise you we have very affordable rates when it comes to our postgrads. And don't always look at it's cheaper. In other words, the one that's more expensive might be better. That's not the truth. You can just go and look at the business school, the accreditation that the business school has. It's very impressive. Do your homework. Come back home. Make us your partner. Don't be scared of technology, but always be responsible. Use it with integrity. And come back and tell us about your successes someday. And first of all, again, I know you don't have class tomorrow. You could have been in any other place than here tonight. So kudos to you for being here, for taking that first step. Please abuse these people's knowledge in order for you to make sure that when you walk out here, you have a little bit of an edge to get the dream job that you might have. Thank you for being here. Very welcome to all of you. Thank you again, Yolandi. Thank you again, Prof, for your time, for your efforts. And then also, I think you can give them a round of applause, but also to Abigail for doing this event and also under very uncertain, and that's the VUCA environment we live in. And the uncertainty, is there water? Is it going to flood? Are we going to be alive in a week's time? But we did it. So thank you and welcome.
Great stuff. Thank you so much, Nicolese. I'm also just going to make this my bench for now then. I just want to call upon next our representative from the Career Center. Her name is Nombulelo Malunga, and she is the Campus Liaison Officer for the Potchefstroom campus. Nombu, over to you. Thank you. You can also sit here then.
Good evening, everyone. Okay, I can't see the excitement. So when I saw artificial intelligence as today's topic, I was so excited. And before I go into my short introduction and speech, I'm Nombulelo Malunga. I'm the Campus Liaison Officer for Potchefstroom Campus, and today I'm here representing Career Services, and we are actually experts in the field of employability. We are here to help you to cross that bridge from your studies to the world of work. You don't need to be an undergraduate to use our services. Even after you have graduated, even when you are still doing your postgrad studies, we are definitely here to assist you. So just to give you an overview of the opportunities that we have available in the Career Center, we offer CV training assistance, we offer interview training assistance, and it doesn't just have to be for a job interview, even if it's for maybe a bursary application or just anything related to preparing for an interview. We are here to assist you with that, and also helping you with work readiness related preparation. You may feel like that you are ready. However, there is so much that goes into the world of work. It's a very different environment from what you are currently used to here at university compared to once you get into the world of work. And that's where we also come in. We offer a work readiness short learning program that consists of short courses such as time management, how to manage your finances well, because you are used to getting maybe a stipend monthly and now you are working, you are getting that huge salary. How do you then manage your finances responsibly, and also how to have good presentation skills, and just really everything that helps you to stand out in the world of work. And then we also have career fairs, of which this Thursday we have our first career fair, which will be the accounting career fair, and then next week we will have our science, law and general, as well as engineering career fairs. So I'd really love to invite all of you to these exciting events so that you can use that opportunity to connect with potential employers. And like Nicolese said, that you shouldn't really close yourself off. You should be open to learning and not just only focus on, you know, your academics, but also be open to using these opportunities that are available here at the university and also what we offer at the career services. So I'm really excited to connect with you all this evening, and I wish you all the best for this year. And thank you from Alumni Relations, and particularly Abigail, for this invitation tonight. And yeah, thank you. That's all from my side.
Great stuff. Now we're going to get into why we are here. So our first speaker is, as you've already heard Nicolese allude to, is Yolandi Stewart. I pronounced everything right, yes. So Yolandi is going to talk to us a little bit about AI, ethics in AI. I recently attended a seminar and I found it very insightful. Prof, you were also there. And guys, we have to be also responsible with the technology that is laid upon us. As students, plagiarism is serious. You guys might have seen of late that, you know, you can't just use AI like irresponsibly. So without any further ado, I have a little bio here for Yolandi, so please allow me just a few seconds to read it, okay? Yolandi Stewart was born and raised in Potchefstroom and is a proud graduate of the NWU. She completed her studies in education, specializing in curriculum design. After university, she worked abroad in the UK, in Cambridge and in London. Upon returning, she was an educator for many years, but after a few years in the private sector, she was finally appointed as the Academic Integrity Officer at the Northwest-University, where she now combines her passion for literature and ethics with her love for people. Without any further ado, Yolandi, please come up.
Good evening, everyone. If you can just give me 1 second to get this started again. Okay, welcome everyone, and thank you very much for the invitation, Abigail, and for the warm welcome, Nicolese. I am really excited to be here, and I think what you alluded to is so important in the sense that at the NWU, we do have a responsibility to create a student, a possible member of society who can contribute in a responsible way to the future and to the technical future, because things are changing really, really fast. I don't know if you've read somewhere, but they call this the fourth industrial revolution. So we are really in times that are going to go down in history as this is the times when things changed. So it's important for us to, that's why also we at the university are not taking a stance that you are not allowed to use AI in your studies. We encourage it, because once you finish here, we want you to be an employable member of society who can use AI, but use it responsibly and ethically. So, without further ado, let me start my presentation. So, when I was invited, obviously I'm not as smooth in this as Prof. Lenta yet. I haven't done it as many times as I think she does this like this. She probably has 100 pre-designed PowerPoints there. But yes, I don't. So I was thinking, okay, how am I going to give this over to you in a fun way? So I went to a platform, or actually a website called Canva, and of course there are hundreds pre-designed PowerPoint presentations. So your biggest struggle is to choose which one. So I thought this one was, nice and formal, but then I thought, I'm speaking to students here, so let's do something a bit more creative and fun. And then I thought, okay, this is maybe a bit too creative and fun. And I finally settled on this one, also because it's similar to the designs that I've done for the guidelines, for the NWU guidelines on ethical and responsible use of AI. The reason I'm telling this to you is not to bore you, but to inform you that I too use AI, this might not be considered 100% AI, but the platform itself uses AI for certain images, for certain information, for certain transformations. So I encourage everyone to educate yourself on how to use artificial intelligence. We are designing a short course that should be available from next semester on, where we want to educate students and staff members on how to use AI. So I am really pro AI, but in a responsible way. So I am going to sound like I'm a bit negative. I do want to give you some examples of what happens if AI is not used responsibly and ethically. So without further ado, let us start. So as I've said, AI tools can help you and you should use them. You should try to find out as much as you can on AI tools and what is available there. There's an app called There's an AI for That. It's actually a website. The website's name is There's an AI for That. Anything you want AI to do, you can go there and ask on that website, okay, I want an app to design PowerPoints for me. It will take you to the possible apps. Some of them are paid, some of them are free. But again, you have to use it ethically. So you might wonder, what is integrity? Now, I know there's a lot of formal definitions, but I've read once that integrity is doing the right thing even when no one is watching. So it's so easy, especially in the fast-paced life that we have, especially at the university, because I do think we have one of the most wonderful, exciting student life programs in South Africa, maybe in Africa even. So there's a lot on your plates. So getting to your academics might come not first priority, and then you might run to AI to maybe quickly do an essay for you because you didn't have the time. And you're thinking, well, no one's watching, so why not? Why should I not use it? It's there for me to use. The thing is, you are cheating yourself. You're only cheating yourself. Apart from that, we do know when you use AI, we've got tools for that. But even if you might get away that 1 or 2 times, you are cheating yourself. The implications of unethical use is you are cheating yourself. Remember, as grade 1 to 3 is considered the foundation phase of schooling, university you can consider maybe as the foundation phase of your career, of the rest of your life. By not learning what you need to learn here, there will be a gap in skills and knowledge that you will not have when you start your career. You might either lose your job because you won't be able to do what you need to do, or you will then, apart from doing your job, have to go back and learn what you were supposed to learn during your 3, 4, 5 years of studies. There are inherent biases, which I will talk about now, and then there's the personal ethical dilemma. Right, so as an example of the inherent biases, and this was also a symposium that I attended last week that I mentioned this, so I want to give credit there. MIT, now MIT might sound familiar to you because on the series The Big Bang Theory, you've got Sheldon and you've got Howard that studied at MIT, so he gets a lot of grief from Sheldon because he only studied at MIT. But anyway, so MIT is really a good university, a prestigious university in America, and they did a very interesting study. It's so a self-driving car. Obviously, this car needs to be programmed. So they did a study. They sent out a questionnaire to all over the world, and they asked people, if a car is barreling down the road at, I wouldn't say lots of speed, but, you know, fast enough to hurt someone, what do you think the car should do? Because remember, this car is programmed by a human. A human still tells this car what to do. And the options were, should the car prioritize humans over pets? That would be difficult for me. Passengers inside the car or the pedestrians? Should it save more lives or fewer lives? Should it choose go straight for the women or should it go straight for the men? Should it go for old people or young people? Should it go for the healthy guys over the fit guys? I hope it goes for the healthy guys. Should it go for the higher social status guys or the lower social status guys? Should it go for the law abiders or the law benders? Should the car swerve out, take action, or should it just continue? And the results were quite interesting. Where is my results? Oh. So some countries chose to spare the elderly over the young, and that's a cultural thing, especially in the east of the world, the more east in your side. They chose to save the elderly because they've got more inherent respect for elderly people. Some countries spared the higher status people over the lower status people, and this is especially in countries where the income gaps were quite big. Most countries, I think that's an inherent thing that we've all got, spared the lawful people over the criminal, and in some countries, they even chose to rather save the dog instead of the criminal. My point is that artificial intelligences is trained by humans. And every human has an inherent bias in him or herself. It could be religious, it could be cultural, it could be age, it could be political beliefs. But whatever comes out from an AI, let's say ChatGPT, was at some point filtered by a human. And because of that, it might give biases. So I want to ask you that if we do not ensure that the content that we create is fair, accurate, reliable, and free from biases, we are adding to the problem. So when it comes to your studies and even in your jobs one day, if you ask AI to do something, you have to go and make sure that whatever information is given here is free from biases and it's fair. Right. The ethical dilemma is that you might become dependent on technology in the sense that you might eventually not be able to do anything without artificial intelligence. You still need to maintain your critical thinking. I think that's the most important thing. And then unless you're a little bit psycho, you might feel bad. So you might go in the evenings feel that I have violated ethical standards here, and it might hopefully eat you up. Then the implications for the irresponsible use is, and this might now be also once you have finished your studies and you've started at a company, it might be you might cause damage to the reputation of your company. There's privacy of data. If you don't do that legally, ethically, there might be legal consequences to your company. And then there's also personal consequences. Now, reputational damage to the reputation, I've also got another example. KFC, as you know, is a worldwide company, and there's a KFC in every country, and there's obviously one in Germany as well. So they thought they were really clever, and I mean, it is clever. What they did is on their KFC app, they've loaded all the national observances. Like we have Heritage Day, Pride Day. They've loaded all those dates onto their app, and they've made an automated marketing strategy. Sounds smart, doesn't it? Not so much. So in Germany, they observe, not celebrate, they observe Kristallnacht, which happened in 1938. It was on the 9th of November. On that day, the Nazis went all over Germany and they attacked all Jewish companies, Jewish families. They call it Kristallnacht because of all the broken windows. It is considered as to be the start of the Holocaust on that day. So for them, it's really a day of reflection on a little bit of a dark spot in their history. KFC, on the other hand, they sent out a message on their app, not they, the app, AI, sent a message for everyone in Germany. Yay, it's Memorial Day for Kristallnacht. Treat yourself with more tender cheese on your crispy chicken. Now, at KFC cheese. So this message was out for but a few hours. But the damage to their company was immense. It was all over the world, and only because there was not a human involved in this process. Yes, they did retract it, but the damage was done. So when you use AI, even for your business one day, for your own personal business, maybe you're working at a large company, it's always important to have a responsible person involved. A human should be involved. If not, irresponsible use of AI can lead to plagiarizing content, spreading misinformation, participating in deceptive marketing practices, because if no one is monitoring this, things like this happen. It could tarnish a company's reputation in a community. It could tarnish your own reputation. Can you imagine that KFC marketing manager? I think he was in a lot of trouble. And then also for the company that you're working for, the investors, your stocks will be going down the drain. Privacy of data and legal consequences. Again, and this is with your studies as well, when you're doing your research, when you enter data into any artificial intelligence app, let's say for instance, again, ChatGPT, remember, anything you enter onto the internet is there. You have to go about it in an ethical manner. You have to have consent. You have to do it anonymously if needed, but you have to go about it responsibly. If not, there will be legal consequences, possibly for yourself, definitely for your company. The use and input of data of clients and partners, there might be partners of your company, if it's not done responsibly, as I've said, there might be legal issues and fines. And also, if you are gathering information or designing graphics for your company, if you just take images from the internet, that's considered copyright infringement. Again, you have to know about these things so that you do it in a legal way. You should always give credit where credit is due. And then the personal consequences of using AI irresponsibly is, let's say, group assignments. I've had that because I get all the reports. You're in a group of 4. 3 of the members do their work in an ethical way. Another guy simply goes the evening before, puts it into ChatGPT, copies that, and puts it into the group assignment, and they get flagged. The whole group gets punished, and the implications of that is not only are you punished, your friends are punished, and I promise you no one's going to want to work with you in a group ever again. The reputation to yourself and to your company, like I've said, that KFC marketing manager was probably fired. I do not know. Please don't quote me on that. And they might struggle to be employed. In something like that, your name would probably run far ahead of you. And then job securement. Again, at the NWU, if you use AI unethically, we do know about that. We will find you out. And you will be reported onto our system, and this might lead you to having to redo a module. This might reflect on your record, and your future employee might find out about this, because they can ask for those records, and they might ask, why were you doing this module twice? And if they find out that you do not act in an ethical manner with AI, what else do you not do in an ethical manner? So being ethical is actually like the North Star for how you should live your life. Then there's another thing I want to, again, I'm sounding like I'm really negative about AI, and I'm not. I really, truly am not. But there are... you see, now you're going to be the hero. But there's something, and this is something you might consider maybe as a study. Again, AI is really, really new. We must ask ourselves, what are we leaving behind for our children? ChatGPT specifically, and this is not a secret, it was in the newspapers. So for ChatGPT, they went, I don't know, Prof. Leenta will definitely be able to tell you a bit more about how they got their information. But they just scoured and scoured the internet for every single article, every single comment made by whoever on Twitter. That's how they got all the information. But now, there's some bad stuff on the internet, I think. I don't know. This had to be filtered. And who wants to look at abuse on the internet 24 hours a day? Who wants to look at animal abuse? So they outsourced that to Kenya, to a company in Kenya, where they paid their workers less than $2 an hour to consume very graphic and toxic content, because they know how to look at all of these bad things on the internet and build in a filter so that you and I, the end user, do not have to see that. Eventually they entered their contract 8 months before time because it was just too horrific to watch. And then another thing that you also might do a little bit more research on, so obviously for AI to be able to work, they've got massive buildings where they've got all the computers that runs really hot. So for every 5 to 50 prompts that you and I type, and remember, it's just you and I, we are billions of people on Earth. For every 5 to 50 prompts, 500 milliliters of water is used. Can you imagine the implications of that on our Earth? And they want to ban paper straws. So think about that. Again, I think AI is a wonderful, wonderful tool. I think there are many tools. Some are better than others. But it's a wonderful tool. It can really increase your productivity. I could have worked on the layout of this slideshow. It would have taken me days, I promise you. AI made my life easier. But you have to do it in an ethical way. And that's it again. This presentation was pre-designed by Canva, just to have that clear out there as well. But I really think that we should focus on using AI in a responsible and an ethical way. Thank you. Okay.
Prof, I want to know if I should koppel you here. All right. So we'll have if I can just get your attention, please, again, thank you, guys. We'll have an opportunity for question and answer session just after Prof. Leenta has had her chance. So what I just want to give you some instructions before we get there is there's a button, a microphone button. You can see it looks like a mouse speaking. You'll just have to press on that. And if it's red, it obviously means it will be your turn. The camera is like, it picks up on the mic that is on. So please also be courteous so that we give each person a chance. And then give the panel members also the respect of a decent answer. So without any further ado, I must speak more. Luckily, Prof, your bio is long enough. So this is going to take a little bit longer. I am, definitely. But because I think it's important to know why we chose these panel members. And of course, they are alumni, as I've already, as Nicolese has already said. So let me start by introducing Prof. Leenta Grobler. She's the Deputy Director and the MBA Program Manager at the Northwest-University Business School. With over 15 years of experience, Prof. Grobler focuses on developing student-centric academic programs empowered by digital technology to cultivate an environment that's conducive to individual growth and success. She's an empathetic listener. Her relationship-driven and analytical approach to problem-solving and decision-making has underpinned her career. Her credentials include a PhD in engineering development and management and a master's degree in computer and electronic engineering. Prof. Robler is renowned for her expertise in digitalization and digital economies, and her passion for innovation, particularly in addressing youth unemployment in Africa, is manifested in the annual Innovate Her Youth Innovation Competition hosted by the NW Business School. Beyond her professional commitments, she volunteers as regional liaison for Africa with Waitrel. Is that correct, Prof? Under the auspices of the UN. Prof. Robler's research interests lie within digital transformation and the incorporation of Internet of Things, a very buzzword now, Internet of Things, into the healthcare and local government sectors, particularly in developing countries. She is the founder and CEO of Medihive, just Medihive, a medtech startup commercializing her research groups. Prof. Robler actively shares her knowledge of product development and digital transformation through mentorship and thought leadership within the business school community. Oh, it's a mouthful. But without any further ado, thank you, Prof. Over to you.
Okay, cool. Can you hear me or can you hear me online? Okay, cool. Can someone give us a thumbs up online? Good. Why? I don't want to. Okay. Okay, cool. Okay, don't move too far. You can help me. Okay, good evening, everyone, and thank you for having me. I always forget how awkward it is when people read those things, so I really need to make it shorter. Because you write it, because it's usually written in a book somewhere, and then you're not humiliated by that, or humbled. Okay, but I am super proud to be an alumna of the Northwest University, and I've really been blessed throughout my career at the Northwest University after spending a brief period in the public sector at Telkom before joining the Faculty of Engineering for a number of years. And at that point in time, when my journey started with AI, this is what it looked like. So I would spend hours upon hours doing graph theory calculations, looking at the relationships between different data points, and figuring out how we could optimize decision making, and doing really boring stuff like math with it. So it was math, and stats, and math, and then we arrived at a solution. But at that point in time, we had to book time on supercomputers or cluster computers for our models to run. And it was definitely not anything like the version of an AI model that all of you walk around with in your back pocket or front pocket. But when I reflected on this morning, when I prepared for this evening, because I really don't have slides like this, because I thought about in explaining to you what AI is or how it works or stuff like that, but I think you've heard more than enough times by now what happens behind the scenes, and so I really reflected. And I think now that Yolandi listed how the different ethical dilemmas of the trolley that or the train that might need to make decisions on who to run over, I recall my first time visiting Kenya on a visit where we introduced some of our NWU-developed healthcare interventions to specifically counteract malnutrition in South Africa. I used an example at that point in time where I would Google, using a VPN, from different places in the world public healthcare system. And I wish I included that before, because you actually made me think about that now as I was sitting here. And when you do that, you will see that public healthcare systems like we experience in South Africa is definitely not the picture that people in first world countries see when they Google public healthcare sector. And that is also why a lot of the products and the solutions out there simply doesn't integrate or doesn't work in our environment because the people working in those sectors don't understand our context. And funny enough, our solutions, even though we create them for the picture that we see when we Google or when we go to a local clinic, they actually work in their context as well. So just as a background, I wanted to say that please don't think that solutions created elsewhere is necessarily better. And we've spent much too many years on fighting or trying to understand what decolonization of the curriculum means for you guys to now go back to African and Eurocentric thinking when you just farm out your thinking to ChatGPT. Okay, so that's a segue. That's really irritating, that feedback. Huh? Whew. I have attention deficit disorder, so I really struggle to focus when there's noise, like when I hear myself all the time. Okay, in any case, so I heard this about a year ago for the first time, that AI will not replace your job, but people using AI will. And at that time, I thought to myself, okay, that's a bold statement to make. But now a year later, I can honestly tell you, I've been using AI tools since, well, for my entire career, but the ones that you are used to for the entire period since the big ChatGPT release in October of 2022. And I can definitely tell you that if you do not use it, you stay behind. But if you use it and you don't understand what you're doing, you look very, very, very stupid in the best English available. Okay, so what I hope to achieve this evening is to help you see that if you harness this statement and you have a look at how it will enable you to achieve more, but also then and gain the advantage of productivity and thinking creatively sometimes, you should really know more than we had to know in the past. Okay, so when I did my master's degree, we did, I also now feel slightly old. My kids say I'm from the 1900s, so I'm ancient. But when I did my master's degree, the library was our only source of information, okay, on this campus. So yes, we had Google, very, very, very limited versions of Google. And it was still the time where students actually referenced Google as a reference because that is how strange and weird it was. It was like you are experiencing now with AI. So at that point in time, if I wanted to read an article, I could go to the library, I could read the abstract of that article, and it is actually nice to speak to postgraduate students because I can use these examples. So I could see the abstract. Then I had to ask the librarian to please order this article for me. So it would take 1 to 2 weeks for them to locate it somewhere in the world, and then it would arrive, and by mail or sometimes by email at least, but it would arrive and it would be a 5-page article with math, in my field at least, with no explanation of how they did it or why they did what they did. So it took me like 3 to 4 weeks to decipher what they tried to say in those articles. So it took a lot of time, and it also was so frustrating because when I looked at my sources, for instance, earlier today when I paged through that, I had the grand total of 60 sources, and that was a lot for my master's degree. It was a lot, and the entire book was 60 pages long as well. So it was huge, because we paid for each of those articles. Do you know how much an article cost? Because we also paid for that in dollars. So I could imagine that to academics of that time and for the workplace in that time, it must have been very scary, because we don't know what information is out there. We don't know how to vet whether or not it is correct or wrong. We don't know whether or not it will still be there or the same if you go back. So it's not like a book and it stays the same. So it was a lot of instability, and it was scary, I think, to most of our supervisors, even though they hid it very well. But I can just imagine if we and they didn't adapt, and they didn't start using search engines, and we didn't start subscribing to online journals so that we could have a university license and actually read an entire article. By the time I did my PhD, I think I downloaded like a 1,000 or so articles. I think I read about 200 of them, maybe 300 of them. I became wasteful with the resource, because I forgot in a very brief period, I think there was 5 years in between, I forgot how scarce the resource was. And that's how quickly we adapt. So when you get to the workplace that I will try and help you prepare yourself for today will be completely different by next year this time. So if we have a look at, and we're actually in the 5th industrial revolution now and no longer in the 4th, but if you look at the industrial revolutions, what happened every single time that we experienced a change? The volume increased and the speed increased. So I see something interesting in my students currently, and I only have postgrad students, that usually around September, October, they become irritated, they become frustrated. Why did I enroll for this degree? Why am I wasting my time? There should be easier things to do. And for some reason this year, I observe it now. And that's a lot earlier than in other years. And I've seen that across 2 faculties and 15 years of supervising students. So it's something to understand that with this latest development, we again 3 or 4 or 5 times increased our speed of work. And if you don't realize that, and we don't anticipate or appreciate the fact that post-COVID, we never really left whatever we tackled during the COVID period. In terms of online meetings, I spent my entire day today sitting on my bum, and I was in meetings while preparing for this evening and running to school. And so I was doing 3 things at once. If everything was happening the way that we were used to it before COVID, then I might have done about 1/3 of what I did today, and it would have been totally normal. So it is understandable, and I would imagine that a lot of you here tonight feel like, I really don't know why I'm doing this. Okay, so therefore I want to also remind you that the Career Center also offers counseling in that regard, and they also keep up to speed and up to date in terms of what's happening out there. And luckily, there's also a lot of AI tools that can help you with processing this. So I've mentioned that I've used AI in every single day for a few months now, or a little over a year now, but I've also used it in literally every single aspect of my life. I don't only use it for quickly writing a report or getting an answer. I use it to help me, prompt me when I feel overwhelmed. I use it to ask me questions, to figure out why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling currently. I use it when I need a creative moment and I want to design my kids' birthday invites. I use it to generate the artwork for that. I use it when I want to engage with my data and I find it difficult to find the story in the data of a student that maybe ends up with a lot of SPSS generated figures, but at the end of the day, they don't know what it means. So then we would chat to the spreadsheet and figure out what we see, what we can learn, what questions we can ask our data, and suddenly the blank page effect that I, as a postgrad student, experience so much. If I would get to the office on a morning that I felt like the way I felt this morning, I would maybe spend 2 to 3 hours feeling sorry for myself. And it was also the year that Facebook was introduced, so we could spend a lot of time doing absolutely nothing, and it was not nearly as entertaining as it was now. We could poke each other or draw on each other's walls. But all of the things that you guys waste time on, we did too. We just did it with a slower and with a lot less pressure. Okay, so keep that in mind. When I highlight the 3 things that I think you should at least all engage with to make sure that you are ready for the workplace, because these are the 3 things in which I see the biggest change in the workplace when it comes to the use of AI. So the first is in automation. So some of you might have seen, or I think all of you should have seen by now, that you actively have to tell Word documents not to help you with Copilot. Otherwise, it completes your sentences for you. But sometimes it's also then, it tells you what it thinks you want to say, and then you start saying what it tells you, and it was not actually where your head was going, but now it's influencing your thinking. So knowing what it does and why it does it, while it's a very useful tool, just be aware of it and maybe use ChatGPT to help you brainstorm before you start writing, help you generate something like an outline and then start filling that outline, and don't use it to generate loads of text for you, because that's really very generic, but use it to help you implement those things that you are here for. So you are not here to get the latest information in any field. Okay? You are maybe here at this stage to help create the latest thing in your field. But if we have to teach you something in a curriculum, keep in mind that there's a 2-year lag between when we can create or design a course and the time that we can start presenting it. So we can never train you to be fully informed and ready for industry, but we can train you how to think. So when you engage in terms of automation of a lot of routine tasks, like starting with a document, or helping you proofread a document, or I use it a lot these days, or Copilot a lot in terms or as a add-on to Power Automate. I think Power Automate is definitely a tool that all of you should learn before you start working, to make sure that those things that you already know, that if an email from this person comes in and the only thing that you are going to do is you are going to extract information from it and not really act on it now because it's a data collecting exercise, then let it already collect that information in a spreadsheet for you. Why do you want to receive it just like you would have in a paper-based format? Or if you want to remember to do certain things in advance, set those reminders in advance or not necessarily reminders, but populate the email so long and remind someone to do something now while you're thinking about it. And Power Automate is like a drag and drop platform. It's not difficult to learn. I taught all of my admin staff how to use it in about 15 minutes each, and none of them that I taught are younger than 50. So you guys can really understand it quite fast as well. So Power Automate is definitely something that I think you should all use. Then in terms of the data-driven insights, again, using Copilot, but then also in having informed conversations with your data or a spreadsheet. I completed a postgraduate diploma in business analytics with the University of Texas last year. And there I specifically tried to use the most advanced AI tool for every single one of my tasks, because I wanted to simulate what my students might do if they are in my class. So that's the only reason why I could do that, and I can't do it anywhere in South Africa because I know too many people here, so I had to experiment elsewhere. But there I, for the first time, realized how much you can do with chat with charts, and there's a number of other, you can send some resources to them afterwards, right? Okay, so I'll send you my list of things that I've used. But to get data-driven insights, whether it's qualitative data or quantitative data, is really something that I encourage you to pursue to help you look for trends in data. So again, it's not writing for you, it's helping you analyze and helping you ask the right questions. And yeah, so again, if I didn't know how to ask questions or what questions would be relevant, then it wouldn't help me at all. Okay, then in terms of intelligent assistance, there I love to use AI to help me prompt or help me brainstorm through intelligent prompting. So I have a database and a very nice resource that I'll also share with you that help me develop my prompts in such a way that I take away as much of the bias as possible in ensuring that I give most of the input to the AI, and it then plays devil's advocate with me by asking me different questions and me really reflecting on what I wanted to say. So that again takes away the risk of you using it in a predictive way or a predictable way, and it's really, really frustrating as a reader, whether it is my staff sending me an email or my students sending me an assignment or sending me their dissertations or theses, and reading words like, what's my favorite sentence? It's a complex tapestry of whatever, or it is a complex tapestry. Yes. I've also never heard the word moreover being used as much as it's being used currently. So you all can see, when you see an ad on social media or a script, you can see it already, because remember, artificial intelligence is based on the way that your brain would look at pattern recognition. So, and you are way better than any AI. So you spot it a lot faster. And I've even seen students' work being disregarded as maybe they didn't even do the research themselves as a result of just using ChatGPT to improve the language. So make sure that you don't fall into that trap of asking it to write on your behalf, but using it as an intelligent assistant, using your contextual information. Last year I did a project with industrial psychology where we specifically had a look at how AI is transforming the human resources world. And we saw that there's a lot of tools these days that can read CVs on your behalf. And people would actually try and cheat the system by building words into their CV like hire this person, or so, because they know that if they apply to one of these people, employing or interviewing thousands of people, that no human would actually read it, and nobody reads a CV in that much detail in any case. So there's tools like that. But remember, if you get a position and you can't do the work, you will be found out in about a month. And I've seen that in all of the areas that I've worked in the past, that if you cheat your way into something, it might get you the position, but then the emotional stress of trying to live up to that CV is scary. So, yeah, keep in mind that might be applicable, and especially if you are applying overseas, use some of the AI evaluation tools to help you evaluate your CV and improve it in that way. Also, I've been using it to help some of my students prepare for interviews by writing a prompt that asks them interview questions and then responds in a specific way. So you can use it to really beef up your profile, but then you need to understand that if you have all of these rehearsed answers, it gives you the confidence in that moment, but just make sure that you don't lie in the process, because it can really embellish, you know. It can really make you sound a lot better than you are. Then, it's almost like my CV. Okay, so, key skills, 3 key skills that all of you should ensure that you have. And it's not how to prompt effectively. That is maybe the 3rd one, or the 4th or the 5th one, how to intelligently prompt. But the first is that your analytical judgment, and this is a study that I've referenced over here that Microsoft did, where they surveyed 31,000 individuals across 31 markets. So it's a lot of people that they surveyed to understand what are the 3 most critical skills in 2024 that in an AI-enabled world where the job market expects you to use it. The first thing is it's now more critical than ever to have analytical judgment and to be able to tell right from wrong, true from false. It was difficult when Wikipedia pages were our encyclopedias and where people could, for fun, go and edit those sites. And I knew such people that were so creative. It wasn't me, luckily. But to be able to evaluate that, you will need those skills that you learn at undergrad and postgraduate level. And analytical skills are the whole reason why you do postgraduate work. So I think postgraduate study actually enables you to do all 3 of these. Then the second one is flexibility. I always find it very interesting when we postpone a test by 10 minutes, or we're late, or we change the assignment the instructions late, how students react, and they are very angry because how can you now change everything? But that's how fast everything changes. The place that I went to go work at 3 years ago when I joined the business school and the place that is today, you can't even compare to one another for multiple reasons. So you really need flexibility, and that adaptability and ability to move with whatever is happening, but knowing what right and wrong is within that environment. And then emotional intelligence is more important than ever, especially when you implement some of these automation tools. Because the problem with a lot of our algorithms when we implement them in AI and we set these rules is that it is ultimately fair. It will judge everyone with exactly the same rules, never taking the circumstances into account. And I think all of you have at least once in your life been in a circumstance where you might need some leeway on the rule. And when you implement AI and you make your decisions based on that AI, it also takes that human side away. So that is why it's then more critical than ever. And that's maybe the number one lesson I try and teach everyone in my digital transformation program, is that it's all about the human and where the human is when in the system, and the way they react when a human engages with them and how they then respond. For instance, I recently had a very bad experience, and I felt sad afterwards that a student needed to go and post something on social media before telling me, because we were actually WhatsApping each other the day before or the month before. We have a very open door policy, and it was actually because they received an automated letter stating that their student fees weren't paid, and it was an error actually why the fees weren't paid. So sorry, you can't attend your graduation unless you pay at least within 72 hours. And this was one of our top performing students. She then phoned the first person didn't realize that an automated letter was sent. The person responded with, yes, it's true. If you didn't pay, you can't graduate, sorry. And the second person she spoke to was actually one of my assistants, who misunderstood the question, and she actually phoned her to ask, well, can she then still at least attend our celebration function in the evening, even if she can't attend her graduation in the morning? And my assistant misunderstood it because she was on leave and just quickly answering her phone. And she also said yes. And the next moment, I received this complaint on social media where everyone is tagged in and everyone is sharing this because we have no heart. And it's definitely not the case. But those two people that she spoke to in that moment, when she was frustrated and sad, didn't know how important it is in a system where you get a faceless automated email giving you bad news and not really being prepared to console that person in that point of time. So if you enter the workplace or you act as a research assistant to a lecturer or whatever, and you are the person, you are the academic assistant that the students would see, realize that more than ever we now have that responsibility of emotional intelligence and acting correctly when we are the only few human elements in the system. So, some practical advice that I would like to give you is, firstly, don't think that you have to enroll yourself in a formal course to learn anything. I was very frustrated last year by enrolling in a formal course again, because I grew accustomed to learning what I need and then leaving it. So when I have enough, I can move on, but now I paid for this and now I need to continue and submit assignments until next year. There are so many very useful informal learning platforms. If I look at the Khan Academy tutoring system, it gives me so much hope for what we can create in terms of learning new things. But explore online platforms and join communities online where you are interested in whatever you want to learn. Because that self-motivation, or that motivation that grows from you experiencing success and actually implementing it in a hobby of yours, will give you so much confidence, and it will actually be fun to learn these things. I actually saw that is also a way in which I got my staff to overcome this fear of AI, because a lot of the time they have a lot of opinions, but they've never experienced it themselves. So I would spend time with my one staff member, for instance, that loves being creative in his slides, and he always looks for the best possible image that illustrates what he wants to convey. So he's a good storyteller. And to him, I said, okay, let's sit before your class each week and let's start prompting and create the images that's in your head, and you don't have to be restricted to whatever you can find online. And he embraced it in that way, and now he prompts way better than me in DALL-E because he wanted to do that. And that then enabled him to do a lot of things in other areas of his life. So find that thing that's actually interesting to you. If it's journaling, try and do it in using AI. If it's image generation, if it's whatever, don't just use it as that automated service that quickly writes an email for you. And then seek some mentorship. And in that sense, I found LinkedIn to be a very valuable mentorship platform where to some of my mentors I'm actively linked and we have some discussions from time to time, but others I just follow and I see what they share about a specific topic in this field. So if it's AI in HR, follow someone that writes about it and see what trends and things they are excited about, because then you don't just try all of the Instagram and TikTok versions of tools. For instance, in preparing for today, I also tried using this tool. I can show you. I built the slideshow multiple times. But I used Gamma, for instance, to help me generate a slideshow from text. And at the end of the day, I decided not to use it because I found it too restrictive, because I feel much more comfortable in Canva, but I used it to create my storyboard and think about in what logic things could work. So I didn't end up using that slideshow, but it really helped me to think about what I want to say and how heavy text I wanted to add to my slides. So don't think that because you use one tool, you have to use that tool for everything. Canva I love in terms of making presentations, and because I can easily share that and it looks pretty and neat, and I just love it. But I've also tried using ChatGPT or the Canva plugin on ChatGPT, and if I really want to be frustrated and have the ugliest slides in the world, then you use that. So Gamma is maybe a good idea if you want to get an idea of good, nice slides to create. And then engage in peer learning. Again, in those online platforms, share what you struggle with, but also your successes. So contribute as much as you consume, because in teaching someone else how to do something, you actually also become more proficient at it, and that is really fulfilling. But then I also want to end off on a slightly more serious note, like Yolandi did, in terms of the negative aspects of AI, and unfortunately, I've seen this play out already, both in my team and with some of my students in the workplace. So I have already seen people developing a dependency on AI where they can't formulate their thoughts for themselves anymore, and them going into a sheer panic when they can't use it, and they're in that room and now they want to say something but they don't know how to say it and they need to use it, and it looks like someone craving a drug. And it creates that same anxiety as well. So make sure that you don't become over-reliant on it. You don't need ChatGPT to answer every single email for you. Not every single email needs to start with, I hope this email finds you well. No. And a complex tapestry further, you might end up with a page of an email that could have been a single paragraph. So really think about, do you need it? Sometimes you need it, because when I'm emotional and I want to say, I really don't like you, please don't speak to me ever again, then it helps me write, this was not a nice thing to do, and I prefer that you don't speak to me like this ever again. So sometimes it has its value. It also sometimes helps just using it as a way of improving your communication, but don't let it respond on your behalf. Don't use that as an auto-replier, because I've also seen two auto-repliers having conversations with one another in emails that I was CC'd in, and at the end, the two people agreed on something that neither of them would ever agree to, and they didn't even do the due diligence of reading what their autoresponders said to one another, and then they were surprised when we implemented whatever, and I was a little bit naughty by implementing it just to show them what happens. But when I announced that we're now implementing this, they were very upset. And how could you implement this rule? And I was like, the two of you suggested it. And they didn't realize. So make sure that you don't become overly dependent or dependent on it at all. Use it as your assistant. Don't become its assistant, where you are just feeding it with a lot of things. So it is deeply integrated into everything that we do. I mean, I told you, the co-pilot, I sometimes need to switch off to make sure that my thoughts are now here, and it's not predictive text leading my thoughts. I've also seen some manipulative behavior in some of the prompts or the results of two prompts, where it actually tells you what to think, and that's where I'm back at the decolonizing the curriculum. So don't let ChatGPT or any other tool tell you what to think. You decide what you want to think and what you want to believe and what you are willing to stand with, and also be very critical about possible misinformation, because just because your bot-enabled Bing can give you a very nice Google search plus AI, it doesn't mean it's the right answer. So don't let it manipulate what you believe and what you think is true. The crawlers created or used to generate all of the text there was great, but also remember that it learns as you add content to it. And not everything that I put in there is true. So I even add to the confusion sometimes. And then also the AI addiction can really hinder your creativity. So in my innovator program, I've always allowed students to participate with high school kids in all of the years that we've hosted the competition, and this year will be the 6th year. And there was never, not a single time, a university student that could outperform a high schooler in that competition. And I think it's because their thinking became too rigid and they weren't creative enough anymore. So really, really don't let go of your creativity, and don't stop playing, because play is actually very healthy for you. It's very healthy for your brain, and that's why I say use AI in such a way that you play with it, so that it's a creative, stimulating exercise and not you feeding it with all of your answers. But yeah, so I think you can really thrive in an AI-powered future, and I really think the tools that are out there are amazing, and it really makes the playing field a lot more level in terms of first languages not being English. We all can communicate a lot better, or I sometimes use it to understand what someone is asking me, because I don't always understand what someone is trying to ask or tell me. So use it for that reason, as the tool that it is. And please don't decide that in order to avoid being caught out, that you won't use it, because you're also limiting yourself in that regard. Use it and know how to use it, because otherwise people who has it and has that skill and know how to use it to be more productive will outperform you every single time. And that's it from me.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'm just gonna sit right here for the question and answer session. But I found both of your talks very insightful. Thank you so very much. Just by a raise of hands, is there anybody that has questions for our panelists? Even if it is directed to the Career Center or the Alumni Relations Office? Wow, I have Nicolese.
This is not really a question. This is something I want to share, like a bit of wisdom. So I did a degree with the business school, and then in November 2022, AI came out, ChatGPT. And my first response was, I will not use it. I will do it on the honorable, hard way, and no one's going to say that this is my child. As you can see, the judgment in her eyes. And the first thing I told them is that the university will kick you out. If they find out that you use AI unethically, you will be kicked out. Don't throw away your future. And I decided to take the hard way, that I won't use ChatGPT. So then it came to the stats part of the quantitative research I've done, and I was in the dark. And now I sat with a huge ethical dilemma, because I don't understand these numbers. And half of the things I have to Google, and Google doesn't give you much on numbers, especially on your results. And then I started to use it, slowly but surely, with the use of a good mentor and a study leader who had a lot of tools and a lot of ideas. And he basically told me it's okay to use it. But that only happened about August last year. So what I want to share with you is, don't wait that long. Yes, it can also be a curse. I have a bit of FOMO. So once I start on a topic, I get a bit obsessed. And then I was an AI, and Abigail can attest to this, and then I created pictures. Iggy in a Varsity Cup rugby t-shirt on the Fanie de Toy rugby field punching a Marty rugby player. And then I generated that kind of pictures, and I kept them busy in the office the whole day with that. I got so distracted, it was terrible. So what I want to say is, it's not the honorable thing to do, not to use it. The honorable thing, and again, I was greeted with a lot of, oh, it sounds like mama, because that's the one thing I taught my kids their whole life. Integrity is doing the right thing when no one is watching. And that's sometimes a hard thing. So I want to encourage you, use the experts here. Don't be as stupid as I am, because a lot of my fellow students had a lot less stress than me. And then I felt guilty, because telling my kids, you won't use it. Don't let them caught you out. And then I got to this huge thing in my life, numbers. And I had to make sense of it. So please use it. Please use the resources. Not only AI, every resource you have to your disposal. You live in the most interesting time ever. So again, having shared that with you, if there's anything you're wondering about, anything you want to know, you have this wonderful opportunity, a wealth of information sitting here. Please use it. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Nicolese. Any takers? I just wanted to say, hey, some of us were sleeping, guys. Hey, I saw. I don't know if the gentleman will acknowledge. Nomvula, I see your hand. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Ms. Abigail, and good evening to everyone. Prof, I have a question particularly directed to you, which has to do with, I think when you started in your opening line, you spoke about assignments and how you're able to detect it. And then you said you're able to get, past 1 or 2 assignments having used AI and not be caught. But I think it even goes beyond being caught at this point in time. My question would be, with a module such as history, a module such as politics perhaps, where it is just research-driven in the sense that you're speaking about history and what has happened in the past and you're contextualizing it. It's so easy to type into ChatGPT, was Hitler a good leader or not? Justify it with resources. And then it gives you 10 to 15 resources. with those 10 to 15 resources, it's easy for you to click on the link and find the article, or to go to the library and then be like, I want the book. And unfortunately, or fortunately rather, it doesn't take a week or two, it takes a day or two to get the book. My question is then, what do we do with that kind of power? Because I think that is power.
Well, firstly, I find it sad when you still have assignments that's that superficial. And because it is, I teach leadership at the moment, and it has the potential to be exactly that. So in my class, I tell my students, I assume you use ChatGPT, and you reference ChatGPT and the chat that you had with it. So please do. But I would then instruct and guide them, and that's maybe the one resource that I will share with you in terms of what the thinking process that I engage in when I have an assignment like that. So I would then say, yes, give me 10 good and 10 bad things about Hitler's leadership style, the decisions that he made, and the motivations that historians have listed to support that. Then I would maybe add to that in terms of what my personal worldview is, and try and interrogate the data. So ask questions to arrive at a storyline at the end of the day that doesn't just tell you whether or not Hitler was a good or bad leader, because I can argue both ways. He was an exceptional leader, but he was not an ethical leader. And whether an ethical leadership is something that you see as a good or a bad element, just his approach with people, and coincidentally, my family lived in Germany for a while, so I have a lot more context about what happened over there. And if you see what the country was in at that point in time, you could arrive at that level of information because you use AI that no one would have been able to arrive at if you didn't have the tools that you have now. So use it to dig much deeper than just, is he a good leader or not? Because it will give you the generic guardrails version of the data. Use it, read those articles, and don't just use the summaries of those articles.
Thanks, Prof. Anybody else? Yes, please go ahead, sir.
Good evening, ladies. I'm very shook, especially when you were speaking about the dangers that comes with using AI. So I think a very good question that I might have for you is, when we are coming across these new tools for the first time, I think whenever it is advertised, it's sort of like how cigarettes initially hit the market. Everyone was smoking and it was all good. Then we later, years later, found out of the bad side of it. So now I'm sure you know a lot of tools, and you are more well versed as to which ones are like easily to become toxic or negative. So how do we then approach and try out all these different tools while trying to gain from them, but also not falling in the trap of becoming a person who likes asks ChatGPT, hey, what do I ask on a first date? You know what I mean? So yeah, perhaps just give us an approach that we might use.
It might be a good idea to ask ChatGPT what to ask on a first date. It's the second date that you need to worry about. But I would say that it's like with social media. Social media is also addictive. You can spend an entire day doing nothing and not really learning anything, not really, if you see 2, 3, 4, 6 hours have passed. I spent a Sunday like that. The day before yesterday, and I felt so upset with myself at the end of the day, because why did I do that, even though I know that this doesn't help my brain reset, because it doesn't. Anything closer than 30 centimeters to your face with blue light is actually depleting all of your cortisol, your dopamine, so it's bad for you to do it. I know it. I know how the brain works, and I still did it. Why did I do it? So I think any of the tools, any of the AI tools I use can be as addictive. I mean, even healthy apps like, what's the exercise app? No, yeah, MyFitnessPal as well, but the one that who cycles? Strava. That is one of the most addictive apps that I've seen amongst 40-year-old males in my entire life. That and CrossFit, and none of them is really bad for you, yet hours are spent on it. So what it takes is the self-discipline to realize that this isn't good for me. I can use it, but let's reflect before I start using it. And I set some screen time reminders for myself. Likewise, I've implemented on my PC screen time feedback that tells me how much time I spend on what tool. And then at the end of the week, if I see I spent 15, 20 hours on one tool and it doesn't just track when I have it open because it logs when I actually use it, I then use that as a reflective tool. So I think that's the way I reflect on while journaling or whatever. So having those healthy coping mechanisms in other areas of your life and implementing them on managing yourself when it comes to technology. Also ensuring that you prioritize sleep. I never realized how important sleep was. And AI can really eat into your sleep because it makes you so hyper productive. And then I have ADHD as well, so then I tend to hyper focus, especially if I'm in the zone and I completely forget about time. And I always thought that I had this superpower that I only needed 2 to 3 hours of sleep a night. Until one day when I walked across a lawn and tore my ankle ligaments just in walking, and I realized it's because I haven't slept in a year. So yeah, that's how productive you can become if you use these things, but you need to actively manage it and reflect on it at least once a week. But there's not one tool that's better than the other in terms of being addictive. They all implement the same thinking as slot machines, by the way. That's what goes into if you go and look at the research in terms of social media and apps, that's the psychology that goes into it.
Okay, I see 2 hands. I'm going to start with you over here, gentlemen, and then I'll go to you, gentlemen, to beard. Is that good? Is that good? Do you still have a question or no? You are turning around, so the black shirt and the beard. You don't have a question at all. Oh, okay. My apologies. Okay. I think we'll have this as the last question, then we can close off. Oh, you have one as well. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Abigail. This is just a question to all the panelists. I'm one of the people that was of the opinion that, AI is kind of unethical. It's not something I'm willing to learn. It's not something I'm ever going to indulge myself in, but obviously as I'm engaging in my postgraduate studies now, I'm seeing it's quite important. I've been to a couple of interviews as well where they've emphasized that. So as someone that never wanted to engage in AI before, what's a good starting point in terms of the learning process of how to use AI tools? Because obviously I'm hearing a lot of tools that everyone uses, but it's kind of overwhelming and information overload, like use this tool for this, use this tool for that. So yeah, I just wanted to find out what's a good starting point for learning how to use AI tools. Thank you.
I don't want to answer all of the questions. You should do some of the work. Okay, so I would say look at that area of your life where you actually need it, or where it will augment your current skills. So maybe in your research is a good place to start. I will again share a very good resource that it's a channel on YouTube that I follow. It's a professor that specifically shows you how to use it productively in your research, and that really doesn't get you into trouble because you never copy and paste. It just helps you structure your thinking. And I think the first thing that I watched of his was how to use it effectively in literature reviews and how to make sure that there's no gaps in your literature review. So I will share that with Abigail and she can share it with you afterwards. But that really improved my students' work and it wasn't overwhelming and they learned good habits from the start.
Do you want to end, Yolandi? Do you want to end? Are you happy? All right, thank you. Last question. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to ask, how can we reconcile the differences between our ethical and moral considerations in terms of how we use AI? Because we're often told that we should use AI in a moral way, in an ethical way. What exactly is the ethical and moral way? Because there's a difference between ethics and morals, and they can often conflict with one another. And again, how ethical is the data we engage with in AI tools in terms of the inputs of that data and the outputs that they produce in terms of what we receive on the end side of the AI tool?
Okay, so I think it's a really good question, the morals versus the ethics. I think in terms of ethics, as soon as you present someone's work, any work, as your own, and it wasn't done by yourself, that kind of starts to blur the lines. So whatever input or output you receive from any AI source, I think the important thing is to take that information and critically review it. Think about it, rephrase it, so at least you know that you are understanding what you are reading and that you are agreeing with what you are reading. And then try to find the source of where that came from. Most of the times, these bots gives you some sort of resource list. Go look at those resources. A lot of the times, or many times, those resources are made up. They simply do not exist. The actual author might exist, but the combination of the article and the author, it might not exist. So then that's a red flag for you as well. But if it does exist, if that is a true source, and you have paraphrased it, and you've entered that information into your assignment, into your essay, into your research article, and you've sourced, you can honestly say that you have critically thought about this information, then it's fine. It's the same way as you would have reviewed any information that you would have found from Google. So in terms of integrity, I think that's as soon as the work that you put out as your own, but it's not done by yourself, that's unethical. What was the second part of your question again?
In terms of the inputs that the data, I don't know, data people that input data into these AI tools, how ethical is all of that around it? Because sometimes within a contextual environment, you might say that this is how things are maybe done ethically in the northern hemisphere of the world, and then in the southern hemisphere of the world, it might be different. So how do we then deliberate with all those nuances? Because when we receive it on our end, we then ask questions, but then how is it actually applicable within our own context? And if it is moral or ethical rather in our own context, but yet the AI tool says it's not. So, I mean, how do we then contend with all those differences?
There I would say that keep in mind that at the end of the day, like Yolandi said, it needs to be your voice. So if you enter data into it, make sure that you are allowed to input it into the tool first, that you have permission and consent to do that. And a lot of the companies that I consult to prohibit you from entering any of their data into any AI tool. So when I have to do a business analytics analysis, I need to do it from scratch with the real AI programming techniques that I luckily also have. but I'm not allowed to use like large language models. And remember that AI is not just a large language models. There's loads of other ways in which it's implemented. But so if you are allowed to share the information there, or you are inputting it there and you interrogate the data and you develop your own voice, at the end of the day, whatever you submit should be your voice and should be your interpretation of right or wrong, and not the decision of whether or leaving that to someone else to make for you. So it's not something that you input and you receive an output and now it's the end. Use it as a thinking tool.
There's another, so it's interesting you ask about how ethical the information they got is. I don't know, Prof. Leenta, if you're following the case in America, the Times, so the newspaper, the Times New York, I think, they are suing OpenAI. So OpenAI, they're the owner of ChatGPT, and they are stating that they never gave OpenAI permission to, what's the words? Crawl the web for their information. They are stating that basically OpenAI plagiarized their articles. OpenAI states that, well, it was freely available on the web, so it's, what's the argument there? But the case hasn't really been resolved yet. So I agree with you. We constantly say we need to use AI in an ethical way, but did AI really get their input in an ethical way? So again, we are in interesting times. Things are changing literally by the day, by the week, by the month. It might be that AI would need to pay huge amounts of fines. It might be that the case might be dismissed. We truly are living in strange times.
All right, everyone. I don't know. I see Nomvula has a follow-up, but you guys will still be here. Just to honor the time, a lot of colleagues also, I did put a time limit on the event. So I just want to actually release everyone. I just want to ask Nicolese if you can please help me with the gifts for our guests. They're behind me. Just to say thank you very much. The boxes aren't as pretty as the content, so I hope you'd like it. I couldn't find a nice big enough wrapping. And then also please note that the speakers are available for networking, and also please network with each other. Peer learning is important, as we heard already from Prof. Leenta as well. But I really want to thank you guys. You've made the job very simple. I'm so impressed that most of you were just super on time. Really, we were like, we were going to start at 7. You know how students are. But yes, we truly appreciate your time as well. I will be sending you a short form so you can just tell me about your experience of this event, but also with that, the resources that Prof. Leenta has given us. So thank you so much for your time, guys. We'll have some food on the deck outside. It's a bit dark because the lights are already auto off. But you can see. So please enjoy something to eat. It's light snacks. But yeah, let's engage and have a good time. Thank you very much, everyone.
Yes, I'm just gonna, you can just switch off there. Just gonna say thank you again. Thank you. Who of you already graduated? Tomorrow. Well done. So, welcome as official alumni. Yes, the terms are alumna and alumnus, and then we come to a place where people choose their gender or how they associate. So a lot of the times we just use alumni, but we mean men, women, whatever you choose. It's fine with us. Welcome with open arms. And then remember, Abigail will speak to you about membership of the convocation as well. And again, remember, make us your partner. Don't stop studying. And again, these are alumni, and this can be you one day. So never stop growing. We will always try and utilize to give you a platform. Thanks, Prof. Leenta. Thank you, Yolandi. On a week evening to listen to people, to stay awake, can be a challenge. We all acknowledge that. But I literally will cling to your lips, every word you said. So thank you for that. And thank you, guys, for you once again.
Guys, that concludes it. You are welcome to go out. Please note on the registration table, there's a small white box. It's just a little gift from the alumni office, so please take one for each of you. Thank you.